Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird.
Happy Halloween, everybody, and what better Halloween double feature to present to you guys today than two of probably the most celebrated movies in the history of modern filmmaking, and of course I'm talking about the two, hopefully soon to be three, Ivan Reitman directed Ghostbusters movies. Of course today I'm doing a double feature of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and it's only appropriate because of the fact that Ghostbusters, the original, has just celebrated its 30th anniversary. If any of you had the opportunity this past Labor Day weekend to go and see a limited edition screening of the original Ghostbusters at your local theaters, please let me know what your experience was like. Here's one of the reasons why I celebrate everything 80s. The greatest thing about the 80s for me was the crazy innovation that people had, especially when it came to the making of movies. It all started in the late 1970s, but it was really the 80s where it just turned into something bigger and better. You had some of the most craziest ideas that no one would have ever imagined that would be successful way back in the day in regards to film. You had the Ghostbusters, you had Back to the Future, you had the continuation of Star Wars, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, just to name a few. So, Ghostbusters came out in 1984, but here's an interesting thing, guys. You probably would not know that these are not the original Ghostbusters. There was actually a very short-lived show that came out in 1975 called Ghostbusters, and if you don't remember it, you probably remember this cartoon rendition.
Let's go, Ghostbusters!
So Ghostbusters came out in 84 and it starred Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, the late Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, Sigourney Weaver, and Rick Moranis. A great cast all around. And the first movie is really about these scientists that know that there's something else out there in the world. There is a paranormal world, and it was just a matter of finding the door and unlocking it and exposing it to the world. And it turns out this one ordinary woman, played by Sigourney Weaver, Dana Barrett, just happens to encounter this paranormal activity in terms of one of the greatest pop culture references, Zool. She gets possessed by a god, trying to take over the world, and the Ghostbusters are suddenly coming into their own to say, we know that ghosts exist and we're here to take care of it for you, and they become like Bell Environmental for bed bugs except for paranormal spirits and ghosts. It's got some great comedy, great action sequences, and probably some of the best one-liners in the history of film, like, don't cross the stream. Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd have excellent comedic timing in this film, and it's also one of those great movies that really encaptures the greatness of New York City. I'm a New York native, so when it comes to movies that talk about or present themselves in New York, I always love how the movie makes the city itself become its own character. And then when you move on to Ghostbusters 2, which came out in 1989, it takes place 5 years later, it really is a movie about how New York itself and the people of New York brought the evil and the spirits back. Dana has a son, but it turns out that she is once again the key to having the door of the evil paranormal unlocked and have the ghosts basically take over the world in the body of this ancient human god named Vigo. The movie itself is not as good as the first one, but it's still fun to watch. I mean, it just seems to me that it's very, very difficult to take such a great thing like Ghostbusters and try and make a sequel that really works itself up to the original, but it's not that it was a bad movie. It's just that it kind of seems to have lost a lot of it. The comedic timing isn't really as great, the story just doesn't seem so great, and the ghost itself doesn't really seem so threatening. Especially with the minion that it creates in Janosch. I don't know, he just kind of seemed very lame to me, but again, it's not that it was a bad movie, it just didn't seem to be as great as its predecessor. But now, with Harold Ramis gone, and so many people hard at work to try and make a third Ghostbusters, I mean, Ghostbusters 3 was something that so many people have been waiting for, so many people were hoping would come out, but what is it going to be like? I mean, right now we know that Paul Feig is the executive producer. He's given us some great stuff in the past couple of years. And it's also going to star an all-female Ghostbusters cast. Who they're going to pick, I don't know. Will any of the actual cast members still be there? They've mentioned Dan Aykroyd. They've mentioned possibly Bill Murray. I'm not sure about Ernie Hudson, but I know that Harold Ramis was on board to bring a third one. But whenever it shows up, I'm hoping that it's good. And I do plan on going to the theater and seeing this movie. But Ghostbusters, great movie, a landmark in terms of some of the most well-known, well-celebrated films of all time. I will give Ghostbusters 3.5 out of 4, and Ghostbusters 2 will get 2.5 out of 4. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm hoping that you all have a great Halloween. Feel free to throw your thoughts down in the box about Ghostbusters. What are your thoughts on Ghostbusters 3 coming out? Are you looking forward to it? And just be safe this Halloween. Actions speak louder than words.